and welcome to Drinking with a Dietitian. This is episode 20 and we have so much to celebrate tonight. I'm Amanda, I'm a registered dietitian and I do these videos every Thursday night. I do some sort of drink or cocktail with a healthy appetizer to pair with it. So tonight we're doing I'm doing Prosecco, but a classic bubbly, and I'll talk about the difference between champagne, Cava, and Prosecco. And then I'm doing a spiced carrot with arugula bruschetta as a nice appetizer. So I wanted to do this tonight for a few reasons. We bought a house today, so we have a lot to celebrate, so we wanted to open a bottle of bubbly. And this is also my last video of the year. I can't believe it, but the holidays are approaching and then it's the new year. So what better way to bring in the new year, as I'm sure many of you will do, with some sort of champagne. So I wanted to talk about the differences of those. And also it's my 20th episode, so that's exciting. 20 episodes for the new year, and then I'll continue doing this into 2019. If you're watching this, please say hi and tell me where you're watching from. And you can catch all the past episodes on my Facebook page, and you can find the recipes on my website at amandabarnesrdn.com. So it's 8:30 p.m. here in Manila, and we're ready to celebrate. So I'm going to open this, and then I'm going to talk about the difference. But to start off, I have a little fun fact. Did you know that more people a year die from champagne corks than from poisonous spider bites? So when we're opening the champagne, we have to be very careful. The cork actually travels, or can travel, up to 55 miles an hour, which is crazy. I'm sure everyone hears about black eyes, broken glasses, things like that. But I'm going to show you how to safely open a champagne glass. So we're going to take off the tinfoil here, and then there's this gate that is holding the cork in. So never take the gate off until right before you're ready to open it. So don't pre-set up before your party and say, well, I'm going to take all the gates off and then just have them out and we can pop them as the night goes on. No. Take the gate off right before, because otherwise the bubbles inside the bottle can pop that right out, and that's when things can happen. So I'm ready to open this. So I'm going to take my gate off, and you just twist it a bit, and then always watch where you're pointing it. And some are easier than others. So I have this towel here as well. So sometimes if I can't get the cork off, I'll use a towel, or if you just want to feel a bit safer. I know it's not as fun as shooting it across the room if you're in a safe space, but we're going to open this safely today because I have breakable things in here. Okay, so kind of keep your thumb on it just in case anything happens. And then you're gonna obviously point it away from your body and just twist a little bit. And you can already feel the pressure. Keep your hand there. Pretty easy, nothing to be scared of. Just keep your hand on top of it, and we can safely and actually quietly, it's more fun a little bit to pop it and make a little bit of noise sometimes, and then you're gonna pour it. The reason we want to pour it as an angle is because if you release a lot of the bubbles, you're actually releasing a lot of the flavor and wonderful complexity that we get from the bubbles. So we're going to pour it out like a 45-degree angle. So you're still going to get some fizz, but you want to get the least amount of possible. And then if you need to tap it up, if you get too many bubbles, wait till they die down and pour another one. So I'm going to pour another glass because I'm not drinking alone. All right, so we have 2 glasses of champagne, and while I'm drinking, I'll tell you the difference because I keep saying champagne, but tonight I am drinking Prosecco. So, cheers everybody. Refreshing, wonderful. All right, so champagne, as we all know, is actually from the region of Champagne, which is in northeastern France. Cava is from Spain, and Prosecco is actually produced in Italy, usually the northeastern region of Italy. And some of them use different grapes, some use the same grapes. So champagne is usually made with a Chardonnay or a Pinot Noir, which Cava can also use those grapes or a regional grape from Spain. And Prosecco is usually a regional Italian grape, so it's not champagne or Pinot Noir. So it's a different grape, so it's going to have a bit of a different flavor. The other thing that makes them different is the way that they are fermented. So they all go through alcohol fermentation, which creates the alcohol. It's the first part of fermentation. And the second part of the fermentation is what creates the bubbles. So with champagne and usually Cava as well, they go through the traditional method, which is in the second fermentation, they're bottled, and the fermentation actually happens in the bottle. So all of the bubbles, the carbon dioxide that's produced from the fermentation stays in the bottle, and it actually creates kind of a more bubbly or a more intense bubble in the drink. So a lot of times if you're comparing the Prosecco to the champagne, you'll feel more tiny bubbles and maybe a bit more intense bubbles in the champagne. Now what that actually also allows is for more aging because it's aged in the bottle. So you can keep that bottle and you can continue the aging. So that's why we talk about vintages both when we're talking about wines, but also with champagne because that's how long it's been fermenting in that bottle. Now, Prosecco, on the other hand, is a little bit different. Prosecco is fermented for the second fermentation in barrels. So a little bit of bubbles are created. That's a similar way that we create beer, right? We get that fermentation, we get the bubbles. And then after the second fermentation, it's actually bottled through pressure. And it does not continue aging and it does not continue fermenting or producing bubbles once it's in the bottle. So for that reason, we don't drink aged Prosecco, we want to drink it young. And it's probably another reason that Prosecco is usually a little bit less expensive than most champagnes and Cavas as well. So you can get dry Proseccos, dry champagnes, and dry Cavas. They're all going to have different complexities about them, and they can all have various flavors, and that doesn't matter whether it's a champagne, a Prosecco, or a Cava. They're all going to have unique across the lines depending on which brand you get and how much sugar is left in the bottle. So that would just be a personal preference, but there's the difference between champagne, well, some of the differences between champagne, Cava, and Prosecco. So now you know when you go to the store and you're shopping for your drinks on New Year's Eve, the champagne is going to have more intense bubbles. It's usually a little bit more expensive, and because they're using Chardonnay grapes, it's usually a bit more buttery and silky. The Prosecco is usually a bit more florally, and the Cava can be a bit more tart or sour, or depending on the grape, it also could be a little bit more citrus as well. So I'm going to take one more glass of champagne, or one more sip of champagne, and then I'll get started on my appetizer. All right, for the appetizer, I hate food waste. And last night I threw a large dinner, and I have some leftover ingredients for my salad. So I made a coffee spice rubbed carrot salad with arugula. It was beautiful, it was lovely. So to make the carrots, which I already have made here, I used the recipe from Flavor Matrix. I've used a cocktail recipe in a previous episode, but I love the cookbook. They have amazing recipes. This sounds super fancy, but it's actually incredibly easy. It's just 1 teaspoon of coffee, which I have some ground coffee in here, and half a teaspoon of Chinese 5-spice powder, which is a blend of star anise, fennel, black pepper, cinnamon, and cloves. So just a little bit of that really adds a beautiful aroma. And then after it's an olive oil, and then we roast them. And after I was done roasting them, I just put a little bit of ginger in them. It gives it a little bit of a zest and a little bit of lemon as well. So what I'm gonna do is kind of mash them up a little bit. They're not quite super soft, so I'm just gonna cut them up a little bit. You could always put them in the food processor, but I'm gonna kind of do it one by one. And so to make it a little bit more easily spreadable onto my bruschetta here. All right, so I'm gonna start off, and here I have some goat cheese. The recipe I'll put online, you could use a little bit of herbed yogurt. You don't need anything at all. If you totally wanna keep it vegan, you could use a vegan yogurt and put some herbs in that as well. But I have some goat cheese here, so I'm just gonna spread a little bit on my crostini. And then I'm gonna top that with some of my smashed carrots. They don't have to be perfectly smashed. I just didn't want them big and whole. So I have some carrots on here. And then I have arugula. Arugula is a very peppery, very flavorful green. So you don't need to use very much. I love it because it really packs a punch and it will freshen up this spicy, it's not spicy, but it's aromatic, and it's warming spices that are great around this time of year. So I'm just gonna use a splash of lemon juice on my arugula and a splash of olive oil just to moisten it up a little bit. And I'll toss that. And then I'm just gonna put a few leaves right on top of my carrots, add some beautiful color there, some nice peppery flavors, and you have a beautiful appetizer. And you could always make this as a salad, as I did, and use your leftovers, repurpose it. We all spend enough time in the kitchen this time of year when you have friends and family over, so double the recipe and make this the next night if you're having a party. But it's beautiful, it's perfect for the time of year, and I actually think it pairs very nicely with a little bit of bubbly. So everybody have a wonderful holiday, have a great new year, and I'll see you back here in 2019. Cheers.